Rick Bucher, covering the NBA for a long time, Fox Sports NBA analyst. So let's start with this. Luka didn't get a lot of help. I said this earlier. The Celtics are so gifted offensively, they have a cushion. Tatum scores under 10 points under his average. They were leading by 29. Kyrie struggles, they get blown out. What do you make of Kyrie's struggles? Rick, he's had 2 9-point playoff games. He struggled from 3. He's been very hot and cold in the playoffs from beyond the arc. What did you make of his performance?
Well, this is partly why when we talk about him being one of the most skilled players in NBA history, or we hear players and coaches talking about him and his skill, it begs the question, okay, he's one of the most skilled ever. Why hasn't he won more?
Yeah.
Why hasn't he considered one of the all-time great players? And it's because he doesn't always apply those skills appropriately. He gets lost in trying to go one-on-one to prove that you can't guard me or you two guys can't guard me, instead of just make the play that needs to be made to win the game. Now, I've seen more of the latter, the smart Kyrie, in Dallas than I ever have before, which is why I believe that this is the best basketball that he's played. But we have seen at various times, especially when Dallas is struggling, that Kyrie wants to take over. And Luka has the same tendency, and it backfires on them massively. If you look at any of the games that they have lost, particularly game ones, whether it's Oklahoma City or it's this one, or even against Minnesota in the first game, generally it's a result of those two guys trying to do far too much on their own.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw with Kyrie. And in game one, I would fully expect that he's going to make an adjustment and get back to the Kyrie that we've seen more of. I would expect the same from Luka.
Adam Silver, the commissioner, was pretty upfront and verbal in regards to KD joining the Warriors. He did not like it. He thought it was a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So the new CBA, the apron they have, is trying to avoid 3 stars on one team. Well, you don't have to call Drew Holiday and Porzingis stars, but they're damn good players. They were number 2 or number 1 scorers. Yeah. So in a way, the Celtics are now what Adam Silver is trying to avoid, which is a stacked roster where Derek White's your 5th best player. Al Horford's off the bench as a multiple-time All-Star. And I watched this game last night, and I'm thinking, it's possible this is a bad matchup. Minnesota is so limited offensively. OKC is kids.
Yeah.
Is it potentially? Is this just Boston's going to get their 116 to 118 in every game, and you're just going to got to cross your fingers that Luka and Kyrie are hot? Is it potentially a bad matchup for Dallas?
I'm not there yet, Colin. I understand why some people would think that, but I haven't forgotten the Oklahoma City game where Dallas once again got blown out for the same reasons. It became too Luka and Kyrie centric. Oklahoma City came out shooting lights out from 3-point range. Boston did the same thing in game one. Now, Boston, there's no doubt that Dallas did not take Boston as seriously as they should have. They came into this game thinking we did the toughest work already, which was beating the Minnesota Timberwolves and their defense. And we can bully the Boston Celtics. None of that worked. And so they've got to go back to what was successful for them in the previous series. Now, Boston may just be too talented to fail because, to your point, like, one guy can be off, 2 guys can be off. You got 3 or 4 other guys who are going to be on, and that may be the difference. And Boston is also a little more versatile defensively than Minnesota was.
Yeah.
If you could get Karl Anthony Towns rotating, Rudy Gobert having to step out away from the basket, you could exploit them. It's going to be harder to do that with Boston. But I still believe that we saw at moments in game one where Dallas was able to create the same openings, the same drives to the basket that they were able to get against Minnesota and Oklahoma City. So I'm not dismissing the belief that Dallas can still win this series, and I'm not even dismissing it that they can win it in 6 games.
So Porzingis got a reputation in the NBA, fair or not, and you have to be careful in the NBA because people come into this league at 19. Yeah. They're not fully formed. If they get into a bad locker room, they can get a bad reputation. He was called like a bad locker room guy. And then in Washington, he kind of popped. He kind of became what we thought.
Yep.
And Boston sees that. So it's interesting. Porzingis, when they acquired him, there was sort of this, let's see if it works. That's kind of what everybody said.
Yep.
Then you watch last night and you're like, yeah, it works. That's a problem. I mean, I don't know. He's been good for a long time, but it does feel like this is the second iteration of him. This is the more perimeter iteration,
yes.
right?
Well, I believe that he's one of the things that makes him so valuable is that he can consistently score mid-range and finish at the basket. And the rest of the Boston Celtics are kind of up and down when it comes to that. I think that he gives them an interior presence that they otherwise don't have. But more than anything, he has that, and he has the willingness to take shots from the perimeter, and he has the willingness to step up defensively because he can't be punked anymore. And that was the reputation when he first came in. He was the unicorn. He expected to be treated like a star. Guys decided, okay, we're gonna test you. We're gonna test you physically, and he didn't always respond well to that. He cowered at times, and I felt as if Dallas came into this game thinking we're playing the same Kristaps Porzingis that played here.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different Kristaps. Like he just got a little smirk on his face when they tried to get physical with him,
or
they tried to challenge him at the rim. He was like, that was the old Kristaps. Like I'm not bothered by this, and I'm just going to put this in over your head. So they've got to make an adjustment there as well. I just felt like Dallas came into this game thinking that they could bully the Boston Celtics collectively and Kristaps Porzingis in particular, and they just got way too focused on we're going to try to be physical and go at these guys, and that's going to be enough because we were able to do that against Minnesota. I think they have to be tactically a little smarter, and I would expect that they will be in Game 2.
So Dan Hurley to the Lakers. There's this feeling that, P.J. Carlesimo came in as a bit of a barker in the NBA, but it should be noted that Kerr can use volume, Spoelstra can use it, Popovich. This idea that these guys are all just swell, and that's just the way to coddle them. It's like Mike D'Antoni could never confront a player, and that's why D'Antoni kept getting run. So I look at Hurley. I think he's smart. I think he can learn, pull back a little bit on the volume. My bigger concern is the Lakers, Rick. I don't want to waste too much time setting this up, but Harbaugh now with the Chargers, McVay, Stafford, USC Big Ten, Ballmer New Arena, Dodgers on fire. Can the Lakers be patient as this puppy gets slow cooked for 3 years and they're a 500 team? I worry about the Lakers' impatience. I think Hurley can work. Yeah. I think he'll be a little louder, but I think he's smart enough to pull that back a little. What do you make?
Yeah. I agree with you in that it's going to take some time. He's going to have to get the right guys in there. But I honestly, if they're hiring Danny Hurley, it's with a post-LeBron team in mind, not trying to squeeze the most out of LeBron James in the next year or two. And to your point, the one difference between P.J. Carlesimo, say, and Greg Popovich and any of the guys that could be tough, Eric Spoelstra, another one, who I would compare Danny Hurley to in terms of temperament and personality and the way he relates to his players, because he will get after them, but he will also pat them on the back and show his appreciation and will be loyal to them in every way possible. And the thing that Danny has, that Pop had, that Spo has, is the fact that he can call himself a champion. It may have been at the collegiate level, but he comes in as the hottest ticket coming out of college. And I do believe we're at a stage now in the NBA where you need guys who are capable of developing talent. And we got this whole Lakers-Celtics race going on. I believe the Lakers, in a way, as much as they might not want to admit it because of the enmity between the two franchises, they're taking a page out of their book. They are going and getting a Brad Stevens, who did take a couple of years to build a team. But look at what they have now, and look at how sustainable it is.
Yeah.
The Lakers have gone with 3 guys who were go along, get along, player-type coaches in Luke Walton and Frank Vogel and Darvin Ham. And I get the sense they're now looking at Danny Hurley as a guy who can come in and be a difference maker who can set a culture and a program and develop players with the iteration that's going to exist once LeBron steps aside.
Finally, Caitlin Clark, a little turbulence, hasn't been bad, almost 16 a game, 6 assists, not shooting particularly well, but we've talked about this. You can be Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray. It's rough. Wemby, they didn't win any more games than the year before. It's hard. This is pro sports. You covered Steph. She's been comped to Steph, and I said yesterday, I think she needs to get in a weight room, be about 6-7 pounds, more muscle. Yeah, I mean, I think, but go back to the early Steph. Do you see some Steph, Caitlin Clark comps?
Oh, 1,000%. In the way that they came into the league, being sort of tremendous Cinderella stories from where they came. I mean, look, the reason that we've gotten into all these reasons why Caitlin Clark should or shouldn't be as captivating as she is. She's not that good. She's just a shooter, or whatever, the non-basketball people want to blame, or because of the color of her skin, that's her popularity. The fact is that she is not physically imposing. She doesn't look particularly quick. She's magical in that way. I mean, she's got kind of a Hoosiers feel to her, a Field of Dreams. This white girl who's not very fast, who's coming out of the cornfields in Iowa and slaying these powerhouse teams and these big athletic players. But when you get to the pros, it's a little bit different. It's another level. Like your IQ and your skills, you have to figure out, how can I adjust them and take advantage again at this level. It took Steph Curry the same sort of. There was a point where they were going to trade Steph because physically they didn't think he could handle it better than Monte Ellis, and he figured it out. And I would expect that the same thing would happen with Caitlin Clark. The other element is, and we never give this enough credit, and even Steph would give it credit, you have to put the right pieces around a player like that to take advantage of their unique skills and their IQ and their understanding of the game and their ability to orchestrate it. You have to put those athletes and the guys that can do all of the dirty work around them. That's not what the Indiana Fever have right now for the most part for Caitlin, and that's what they're going to need for not just for her but the entire team to be successful. So I see a perfect comp between the two. But if anybody recalls, anybody who's been watching the NBA for more than 5 or 6 years, Steph Curry was not an earth mover when he first arrived in the league. There were questions about whether he was actually going to cut it.
Yeah, we have a picture of the rookie Steph and the Steph now, and he came in at 172. He's now closer to 190, 192. And he looked like a high school kid his rookie year, and he looks like a pro athlete now. So that's what the nutrition table, the NBA knows what they're doing. You don't have to go 100%. To class. It's all about building it up, and she'll be fine. Rick Bucher, NBA, Fox Sports. Good seeing you, my man.
Same.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.